All right, so we're going to review the trailer, and here we go. And of course, we see the eerie sight of these stormtrooper helmets in the sand, some of them on pikes. Look at that. I'm going to pause it here because I just want to point out that, this to me, and I'm thinking about Jimmy Mac's much maligned Planet of the Apes film series. We know how he feels about Planet of the Apes.
Oh, wait a second. I never said anything bad about the Planet
you said
of the
it was
Apes
just
show.
awful. You said it was just terrible.
Yeah, but I don't recall
wasn't...
that being part of an episode of Rebel Force Radio.
Oh, am I outing you? I thought
a little bit.
Sometimes
a little bit.
You're afraid of Paul Bateman coming after you.
I just think that any Planet of the Apes without Charlton Heston suck. Okay, there.
All right, that's what he said.
Now y'all know.
All right. Well, that second one wasn't so hot, and that had Charlton Heston in it.
Damn you!
All right, but what I'm thinking of is these are almost like when they had the human scarecrows or the ape scarecrows in Planet of the Apes. I mean, this is like a big symbol. Don't go here. Imperials not welcome here. You're a former Imperial. You're gonna get a pike through your head.
Yeah, Shades of Apocalypse Now also when they approach Kurtz's camp, his outpost, where their heads on spikes. I believe The Walking Dead did it at the end of a couple seasons ago. They had a bunch of heads on spikes. And also just seeing the Stormtrooper helmets on display like this remind me of the front cover of the old Expanded Universe book, Death Troopers.
Yes.
Which were about zombie Stormtroopers, not the tall black armored troopers we get introduced to in Rogue One. These Death Troopers were zombie troopers. And so I instantly think of that book and that cover when I see these Stormtrooper helmets on spikes.
Yeah. So the Empire clearly has no authority here. All right.
Right.
And let's keep moving. Got the Lucasfilm logo.
Shiny.
Yes. There is the Razor Crest. And this was something we alluded to earlier. This is a part of the story that's very near and dear to Jon Favreau's heart. This ship, there were multiple models made and some old school effect shots that were used for the Razor Crest. I don't know in this particular shot, but the Razor Crest in action is sort of the best of old and new technology. They took it very seriously to give it that quintessential Star Wars starship look. And we see it coming over some
looks like
jungle
Takadona
terrain.
a little bit.
It does.
Or, that's what I'm seeing is more of a Takadona feel toward this planet. It certainly doesn't feel like that Tatooine-esque planet we've seen in a lot of the footage for the Mandalorians. So good to see he's going to different places, different environments, different planets, get off planet. That's one thing I was afraid of with an episodic series like this, is that each and every week we would be seeing the same environments, the same sets, the same locales. This expands the scope, seeing an environment like this that tells me that the action will happen off planet. So fingers crossed. I think that's a real important element for all Star Wars stories to have. Star Wars Resistance, the animated series this year, I think suffered from claustrophobia by having every episode take place on the Colossus platform in the middle of the ocean. It made Star Wars very small. I like to see it being spread out, the adventure taking place over several different locales, different planets, different star systems, different spaceships. I want to see battles in space, dogfights, all that stuff.
Well, something here, it'll be interesting to see if the Razor Crest sort of joins the ranks of the Millennium Falcon, Luke's X-Wing, the Ghost in Rebels, and kind of almost becomes a character in its own right.
All right, what's this?
All right, so
back. Oh, look, that looks like kind of like the ship to the right of the frame has some aesthetic that reminds me of a snow speeder.
Yes.
The cockpit window, the way the front sort of comes into that V formation there. We're just not seeing enough of the ship.
Right.
I also am thinking E-Wing a little bit from Rogue One, but hard to tell. Then the ship to the left, obviously, is the Mandalorian ship, the Razor Crest. The Razor Crest?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Razor
the
Crest?
Razor Crest, yeah.
It's not called Razor Quest?
No, not Quest. No,
Quest.
no.
It's Crest, not Quest.
Crest, yeah. Razor Crest. Yeah.
Quest.
All right,
Yeah.
we got the Mandalorian going through some sort of little gateway here.
Big gateway. Nothing little about that thing.
All right. And we got some, looks like maybe the people are throwing down their weapons here.
No, credits. There was some
Credits
asthma device there. Yeah. I think there was a vape pen there. This is like me going into a concert.
Yeah, that's exactly
right
what it
before I
looks
go
like.
into the metal detectors. It's
right.
like, what are you going to put all that stuff there? Oh, these are just my credits.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sure they are.
Well, we know they were picking up the chits. Carl Weathers.
Now, Carl Weathers, I believe, is playing. Oh, look at that environment with the craggly crags and everything. A lot of stuff is happening here real fast.
Oh, yeah. All right.
But Carl Weathers, what do we know of him? He's the leader of the Bounty Hunter Guild, right?
Yes.
And that's a concept that comes from the EU. His character name, Grief Karga. And according to some little tidbits of information that recently appeared on EW.com, Grief Karga is the leader of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and his role in this whole story is he's the guy who asks the Mandalorian to take on an assignment that nobody else wants. And I'll tell you why nobody else wants it, is because the assignment is to go assassinate Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. That's what I think.
Okay.
That's my speculation.
Wow.
I'm just guessing. But that's what I think it is. I think there's heavy stakes involved here, and I think Moff Gideon is going to have a mark on his head, and there's going to be a bounty placed on him by Carl Weathers, Grief Karga. I hope we get to see Carl in some action sequences and not like just sitting behind a desk, giving out jobs. I would love to see him,
Why would you hire a guy like Carl Weathers and not give him an opportunity to go out and kick some ass? I think we're going to see Carl kicking some butt. He looks like he's still in amazing shape.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Now, has the ghost? I know you've seen all of the Creed movies. Has the ghost of Apollo Creed ever appeared to his son in those movies?
The blue ghost?
Yeah, blue ghost.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. He might show up in the next Rambo movie, though. But no. Carl Weathers has nothing to do with that. If they're still making Predator movies, maybe he'll show up.
I'd love to see that. Dylan. You son of a... All right.
Yeah, the only reason I bring up Rambo is because Stallone has a new Rambo movie coming out, and of course he and Carl Weathers are contemporaries. They went toe-to-toe against each other in those early Rocky movies that were so great. And now Sly Stallone is out there still making the action-adventure film and still kicking ass along the way, and he's in his 70s. So just wanted to say hats off to Sylvester Stallone, because I don't think we say it often enough here on Rebel Force Radio, because obviously he's had nothing to do with Star Wars.
That's right. Yet.
But seeing Carl Weathers makes me think of him. And Jason, when you said, oh, he certainly looks like he's in great shape, I think he is. I think he can do, a new Rocky movie,
Yeah.
Have him come back as a blue ghost who fights Rocky.
I would
in the
love
ring.
to see that.
It'd be a great way to tie it into Star Wars.
Yeah.
And have Grief Karga, Apollo Creed reveals that he's actually been Grief Karga all along, and Apollo Creed was just an alias. He was hiding in plain sight from the Empire.
Well, being the leader of the Bounty Hunter Guild, you got to kind of keep it underground.
Mm-hmm. But nobody realizes that, he's sitting there at that desk, but waist down, he's wearing red, white, and blue striped boxing shorts.
James Brown is around, ready to burst out in song.
Dun, 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 dun.
Living on Tatooine. All right, so we're frozen on Gina Carano, who is Cara Dune.
Yes.
Now, she is a former shock trooper turned mercenary.
Okay.
All right. So these shock troopers, they were specialized stormtroopers.
Right.
And
if they're sticking with that narrative,
yes,
the shock troopers were revealed to be the stormtroopers with red detail, the clone troopers, I should say, with the red detail that were with Emperor Palpatine at the end of Revenge of the Sith. They were with him when he landed on Mustafar to tend to the husk of Anakin Skywalker. They appeared in the Senate Rotunda after Yoda fell, and they were sweeping the place looking for him. So those were revealed to be clone shock troopers.
Yeah.
Or Imperial, I guess they would be Imperial
yeah.
shock troopers.
Not necessarily clones per se.
So, I mean, are we going to realize that she was actually one of those stormtroopers working directly with Palpatine?
Possibly. It also says some other details that she also fought with the rebellion during the Galactic Civil War. So she turned mercenary and teamed up with the rebellion prior to their victory against the Galactic Empire. So
I guess with her age, that all kind of times out.
yeah.
The shock troopers didn't really rise into prominence until Palpatine declared himself emperor. So that would be 20 years prior to A New Hope. This happens roughly 7 years after A New Hope.
Yeah.
So if she's a 20-something shock trooper, this would put her at around age 57. No, it doesn't time out because Gina Carano is way older than, or younger than 50-something. So,
well, I mean, it doesn't mean that she couldn't have been a shock trooper.
And
maybe
the
she didn't
shock
have to be a shock trooper from day one.
Maybe they continue to exist even into the era of Star Wars represented in the original trilogy.
I'm sure.
I mean, maybe there were still Imperial shock troopers around. We just didn't see them.
Right.
By the time we caught up with the Emperor, he was hanging with his royal guards.
Right. Who turned out to be really not much of anything. Kind of easy.
Well, I mean, let's see you fight with a big red, throw rug wrapping you up or something. I mean,
Yoda took care of him.
Blanket.
Like 3 seconds. I mean, Yoda walked in, just like looked at them. They fell over.
Yeah, they have no connection to the Force.
Yeah. Well, they have those Force pikes, though.
I'm just going to say right now, I do not think they're talking about the same shock troopers we saw in Revenge of the Sith when they're describing her. Shock trooper turned mercenary. I don't think so. I think that's... I've seen shock trooper used before in Star Wars, even to describe the armor Boba Fett was wearing. In the original novelization, it referred to him as a shock trooper. I think.
Well, the Empire novelization. All right, let's move on. All right. So here's Gina, right? Cara Dune. Oh, now we got a Beast of Burden here, and this looks to be the Ugnaught. This could be the Nulty character that we're seeing.
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, right. And I don't know, we don't have a name for that sort of that creature there.
Somebody told me it was a blurg.
A blurg. Oh, that's right. All right. So there is the blurg. All right. Ooh, in a Twi'lek, looking fine there with the little purple shades. Love that. There's a classic.
Well, it's a classic.
That does not go out of style. Where are they in the sequel trilogy? Thank you. Little wink. There's the Mandalorian. Very
Tatooine like.
Yep, very Tatooine. Yep. Now here, who do we have here? We've got a clearly like a mother and daughter cowering. They're hiding. So I'm wondering if this could be the first scene that really establishes the Mandalorian for us. We know that it's a grassy and swampy water planet that we saw the Razor Crest fly over. Are we going to be introduced to this character as this guy is merciless? He's going to take down his bounty right in front of the wife and the child if he has to.
Oh, that could be. Or this could be a flashback showing Cara Dune's origin. Maybe she's the child in this shot. And that's her mother. It's hard to tell. Obviously, we'll be seeing families getting shattered as a result of the events that lead up to or the events that happen in The Mandalorian. There's going to be something that shows, much like with Rogue One, showing a family get
Oh, yeah. This very
shattered.
much reminds me of the beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah.
The family in hiding. All right. So moving on from there. Okay. Death Troopers.
Nice.
Death
Looking
Troopers
good.
here. Oh, yeah. Looks like a firing squad here.
Yeah, execution style.
Mm-hmm.
They're lined up, there's probably somebody standing there with a smoke, and right there you can kind of see someone standing there.
Yeah. But this is the Mandalorian, I think. He's got an itchy trigger finger here.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
think that's the Mandalorian. I'm not sure who this
Yeah.
is in the background. Foreground, we've got the Mandalorian, hand on the blaster. Could be Giancarlo. I don't know. It could be.
No, I
no?
don't think that he's going to be that easy to extract and line up in front of a firing squad. Plus, I don't think Giancarlo's character, Moff Gideon, is going to be facing execution by a bunch of death troopers.
But I don't think that's it. Okay, so here you got the shot.
So they're not lined up to shoot him.
No,
they're under his command.
This is two different shots. You've got the death troopers right here.
Yeah.
And then you've got a shot. This is going to go into a shot of the Mandalorian standing across from his bounty, I think. I don't think that this is...
Maybe. That looks like a guy tied to a post or something.
Yeah, it's blurry. I don't think we're possibly going to know. It's very hard to tell. But I think this is the bounty hunter standing across from one of his bounties. Then we get a close-up shot here of Giancarlo.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. He was great in that. I think we're going to see a very different character. I don't think this guy's going to be selling crystal meth out of the back of a fast food chicken.
Desperate times
place.
for the Empire. You never know.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
we've heard about Palpatine's contingency plan. Little did you know that involved running smack. All right, so here's Giancarlo. Mandalorian. I mean, the cinematography is just so great.
Looks good.
The sunset, sunrise, very
Western.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Western.
And there's that rifle. We can see that the butt of the rifle there that was made famous by Boba Fett in the holiday special animated short. November 12th. All right, what do we got here? This is...
Somebody was looking up at a flash
speeder.
of light that could have been maybe an Imperial probe droid landing. Just prior to that, you'll see it's so brief. It lasts a matter of seconds. Yeah, so that could be an Imperial probe droid.
It has that same kind
down.
of... You see that smoky trail that it's leaving? That kind of reminds me of that. It's a good thought.
Oh, and then apparently it looks like that's the same character that saw that ball of light coming down, and he's riding an old school Macquarie inspired skiff that we've seen lots of times.
Yeah, but that's great.
Yeah, looks good. He's just got goggles and a bandana covering his nose and mouth.
He's Antifa there.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I knew it.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. We saw feet of this walker here.
Feet. Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
walker feet.
Yeah, walker feet. And there they are. Let's see. Now, this is showing a lot of carnage and terror, you might say. So whatever this village is or this town, they're at the mercy of what very well could be Moff. What's he's Moff
Gideon.
What? Moff Gideon. That's right, Moff Gideon. People running for their lives. Reminds me a little bit of the terror that you see at the beginning of The Force Awakens.
Old school Scout Walker.
Yep.
And then that environment even looked a little like Naboo to me in a way, but it's that same desert town.
But those maroon dressings, that does kind of give you that Naboo vibe. This is great. The people are calling this the bread shot. Have you heard about this? Because it looks like a loaf of bread.
Wow, man. Yeah. You guys are freeze framing a lot, man. If you're coming up with a bread shot, that's good. That's good stuff. That is good stuff right there. Then so you have the IG and the Mando coming
IG
to
11,
the
right?
the slice of Wonder Bread. And IG
I think
11.
there's a trading card stuffed in there somewhere.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian and IG 11 stepping through. I mean, you're talking about Western. And here we go. These are some of these space shots that very well could have been using the stop motion effects, old school style. Ooh, wait a minute.
He's got the big gun right there.
Yeah, Mando. Hold on, let me see if I can get to that. Oh, there, look at this. Mandalorian using this cannon. This, kind of like what we saw in Hoth.
Mm-hmm. Is that the same armor he's seen wearing in all the other shots? I guess it is. It's kind of different the way he's sort of squeezing together his shoulders.
And the lighting and all of that. I wonder, that's a good point. I wonder if we'll see any kind of evolution in the armor if he's having to replace or put pieces.
Yes, the action
together.
figure guys would love that.
Wouldn't they?
I mean, think about, remember the old Batman action figures where he'd always have like Night Vision Batman or, Swamp Action Batman. There'd always be some sort of different Batman.
But it never showed up in the series, in the movies or the cartoon.
They were fun to collect.
Yeah.
Moved a lot of merch.
That's right. All right, so there he is. Who's he firing at there? Let's see, who's he? Whoa.
Oh, look at that. No, that was not a lightsaber. I know what you were thinking. I saw that too, but that was just a blaster bolt.
Okay.
Right there. Did that look like he was igniting a lightsaber?
It did. I thought we found something here, but no.
Chirrut Imwe shows up with a red lightsaber. It blows everyone's minds.
Chirrut! All right. Okay. So I don't know what these...
Strong... Okay.
I went with the false. All right, so who knows who he's firing at? I don't know if these are Imperials or who these guys are. But I do know one thing. IG-11 is kicking some bootay right here. I tell you what, after seeing this, I don't look at my Black Series IG-88 the same way. I always thought that what a lame-looking character this is. Then you see him in action. It's like, look at that.
Why the necessity to make this character anything but IG-88? Why IG-11? What's the necessity in that? You're not disrupting any sort of continuity with the character.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some source book or some West End Games something or God knows what that ruined the character forever.
The whistle got blown on him because he was destroyed in some sort of book that they've already declared as non-canon anyway. So
but I never looked at an IG droid. I mean, even IG-88, I'm like, all right, so they used pieces from the cantina, to make his head, whatever. I never saw them as fearsome, but this just is totally fantastic. I just thrilled by that. And here's some old school OT stormtroopers. Now we saw a scene that involves the Mandalorian and Herzog's character.
Oh, Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog.
Yes, everybody loves Werner Herzog, and they cannot tell you why.
Everybody's excited about him. He seems like a wonderful actor, but I could.
Hey, you've never seen me break dance. I do the popping and the grooving.
Anyway, we saw this scene, and I think this is another part of that same scene where the Mandalorian is breaking free of all these stormtroopers.
Yeah, no, that is the same scene we saw at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, right.
When they all surround him.
Yeah. Look at these poor bastards. Look at them they're all dirty and they got blood stains
but yet they
Ewoks
come across as being more capable and fearsome than we've seen stormtroopers, in my opinion, just from the brief glimpses we've gotten of them.
Well, we don't know who's in those suits. I mean, these guys may not be the benefits of nepotism that was, no,
you're right.
said to be the Imperial stormtroopers. All right. Dramatic pause.
This is complicated. And then it's Squid Face.
Oh, Ishi Tib. Yeah, Squid Face. I love
Squid
that.
Face.
Oh,
you saw
this
Ishi
dude
too? That dude, are you a big fan of him? He looks like somebody I saw at the Citgo gas station this morning.
Yeah, he was just trying to knock over the 7-Eleven. No, not Ishi, Tim. The Squid
Oh,
Face.
Squid Face. Yeah. Squid Face is back.
Yeah, love that. Now, are you going to be upset if that's not the real Squid Face?
Oh, Tessic?
Yeah. Yes.
No, I find that there's room for more Squid Faces anywhere and every. Actually, I think he's known as Squid Head. I call him Squid Face. I should call him Squid Head.
Squid Head.
Yeah. The reason I remember this is because at one point I was doing a Star Wars music show and I was considering naming it Squid Headbangers Ball, but it didn't go far. No. It didn't.
That's a shame.
It didn't go past the pitch.
All right.
Oh, damn!
We're doing a little flip over. Now we're in some sort of cantina here.
Yes, we are.
Looks like maybe he's catching his prey. This is very Batman, with the cable. Or Jango Fett. I guess we'll keep it Star Wars. Jango Fett using the grappling hook. Okay. So he's after the Squid Head.
Okay,
that's the Squid Head he just roped in there.
Squid Head.
Yeah.
He's got him, and then he pulls him in just a little bit, and he fires his blaster at that door control. So when you hit play, oops.
Yep, there it goes. Door goes shut.
And he's half the Squid Face he used to be.
All right, now here we go.
Carbonite.
Yeah.
There's been rumors about this guy's identity. Some people are claiming it's Moralo Eval. I've not heard any real confirmation about that yet. I think somebody said it was possible that Dave Filoni mentioned this at D23. I didn't hear him mention anything like that. But I saw a tweet today from somebody who claims to know that this is an Easter egg for fans of the Clone Wars, that this is Moralo Eval, the season 4 character that was voiced by Stephen Stanton. You remember Moralo Eval?
Yes. He used to read bedtime stories to us here on Rebel Force Radio.
But recently there have been photos revealing a shot of the Mandalorian dueling with 2 Trandoshans. And I don't know, maybe this is one of the Trandoshans frozen in carbonite. I'd hate to jump to the conclusion that's Moralo Eval.
That's not a Trandoshan. Look at that.
Are you
face.
sure?
There's
It's hard to tell with the way it's kind of cocked back like that. And what's with the members only jacket that he's wearing?
Well, you know what I remember? So this was actually the original pose that Han Solo was to be in, with those shackles and his hands down. But
yes,
Kirsch didn't think that it looked. He didn't look anguished enough, so they went with that hands up, like he was trying to tear away and break free of the carbonite as it was encasing him. So, as a matter of fact, the micro collection, Han Solo from Kenner back in 1980. It had the carbonite slab Han Solo in that position. Yeah.
Well, because the figure, you couldn't pose the figure in there, and they wanted the figure to fit inside the slab.
Not in the micro collection. It was 2
Oh,
different
micro collection.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the old.
The Power
3
of the Force.
3/4
Yeah.
But I'm not sold on this being Moralo Eval. If it is, I'd be surprised that, it's like the last characters I would think to advance forward into the new era of Star Wars. Number 1 being Hondo Ohnaka being the only character they bring forward into the Star Wars land at Disney, the Galaxy's Edge. And then who else should we bring forward into the Mandalorian? We have this roster, a stable filled with all kind of incredible characters we could bring forward. Who are we going to bring? Moralo Eval? Oh my God! Of all the characters, so
this could be a very throwaway moment, though, Jim. This
could be, and it's Filoni-verse.
Yeah,
Filoni-verse. Of course, we know Moralo Eval did emerge in the Clone Wars, and so if they were to include him in the Mandalorian in some way, shape, or form, I'd be like, okay, that seems natural enough. But again, you have this amazing roster of characters going back to 1977, and some of these characters are being tapped on the shoulder to move and advance into the new era of Star Wars is puzzling to me, to say the least.
Right.
Poor Louis Val doesn't exactly. I don't even think they even made an action figure of him back in the day. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's the thing that I didn't notice at first, but I noticed after subsequent viewings is this is a whole lineup of carbonite slabs here.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can see that, and I don't know if this is the Mandalorian's preferred way of capturing his bounties, or if this is another bounty hunter.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah. Maybe squid heads back there, and
that little girl and her mom.
Others from the Filoni-verse. Captain Rex is frozen back there somewhere. I'm sure Ahsoka is in line.
I'm sure. Now, we did see this in the Clone Wars. We did see the Jedi going undercover and freezing themselves in carbonite so that they could sneak on board.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it was a practice that wasn't exactly used commonly, especially when it came to living people. Vader had the confidence to know that in his past it had been pulled off before by himself in his former life as Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
But then by the time, it comes to freezing Han Solo, of course, Lando objects, saying that it could kill him. Vader seems pretty confident, but still not confident enough to freeze Luke in the carbon freezing chamber, because obviously the technology had advanced since he had frozen himself. And he wanted to make sure that particular facility, while it was crude, it would prove to be adequate to freeze Luke. So that's the other thing, too. I think Vader was nervous that the Cloud City facilities were beneath his standards to begin with. So obviously he had to test it out on Han.
Yes.
And then by the time we get to the Mandalorian, word had spread around that Boba Fett had frozen Han Solo and he was hanging up as a wall decoration in Jabba's palace. Well, that gets people talking,
Yeah, word got around. Word
gets around. So other bounty hunters were like, hey, that's not a bad idea. And
Carbonite.
By the time we get to the Mandalorian era in the Star Wars timeline, freezing your bounty in carbonite is rather standard practice, I would say, thanks to the pioneering efforts of Boba Fett and Darth Vader.
All right, so there we go. Carbonite. There's the great thespian Werner Herzog.
Look at me. I am here. Everyone on Twitter seems to love me for some reason, and I do not know why. And they do not know why either.
All right. Dramatic moment. The Mandalorian.
So badass with that silver helmet.
Oh, so cool. And I love this little effect of the Mandalorian Cape. You notice that? It's revealing
like
the logo as the wipe.
Let's talk about the logo for a second. I believe that when we were introduced to the Mandalorian at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, the Star Wars was not visible on top of the logo. It was just the Mandalorian.
You are correct.
I think Star Wars is a new addition. They played around with different ways of notarizing these spin-off shows and films as being part of the Star Wars universe. At first, with Rogue One, it was going to be called a Star Wars anthology.
Right.
But then they changed it to a Star Wars story. And now they've gone back to what I think is the most rational way to do it, is just call it Star Wars The Mandalorian.
Right.
Sorry, I hit my microphone there.
Yeah.
Star Wars The Mandalorian. And I mean, that really says it all right there. And that's how you want to merchandise to this thing. That's how you want to promote it. You want to have that familiar Star Wars logo on top of it. And then it says The Mandalorian. I was weirded out when the first Batman movie was released and it had no mention of Batman in the title. That would have been The Dark Knight. Yeah, that's right. It was The Dark Knight. I'm like, wow, they're not going to call Batman The Dark Knight. They're just going to call it The Dark Knight. That seems foolish to me. But the notoriety of Batman actually carried his character above and beyond that kind of marketing, and everyone knew they were going to see the Batman movie.
Right.
It was so effective that people actually started to refer to the franchise as The Dark Knight.
It worked.
That really worked out well for them.
Yeah.
I think with Star Wars, the smartest way to go about it is just put Star Wars in front of anything you release. Star Wars, The Mandalorian.
Right. And the way that they've created the branding with Star Wars and then whatever the title is in between the Star and the Wars with the films.
That's getting old.
I think that's the way they're going to be.
That's getting old. It lacks creativity. I preferred, personally, the way they did it in the original trilogy, where each film got its own logo, but it still incorporated Star Wars into that logo.
Right.
With the prequels, that was getting lazy, with the episode Roman numeral taking center stage.
Yeah.
But as we know, the Disney company doesn't like those Roman numerals.
That's right.
So they're not going to incorporate them.
Right.
But what they did incorporate was a lot of nostalgia in The Force Awakens. So they basically took the same logo for the original Star Wars and just squeezed the new title in between the words Star and Wars and made that roll for the last 3 films. I'd like the Mandalorian logo. I think that's a good logo.